contrarian, leave it to contrarian badass Reggie Middleton. He called the housing crash. He called the collapse of Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers and the crisis in the Eurozone banking system. Reggie Middleton.
Reggie Middleton back. This is a short interaction because I'm out in the cold, but we're here to discuss Bitcoin investment. The reason why, I've been getting a lot of indications of interest from Bitcoin investment, potential Bitcoin investors. I don't mean the retail guys and the mom and pops, but the buy side has finally caught the bug. As a matter of fact, the several hedge funds have approached me, and it appears that I don't want to call them sales members, but members of the clearing, brokerage, and securities industries, support industries, have also notified me that there's significant demand for Bitcoin. Bitcoin advice, Bitcoin guidance, and Bitcoin knowledge. So much so that it appears my services regarding Bitcoin investment are in greater demand than my traditional forensic analysis services, such as calling for all the big banks, real estate, etc. Quite interesting, not quite what I thought was the case, but that's a big positive. As you know, I'm still quite bullish on Bitcoin. I fully acknowledge its risk. It is quite risky, but I'm a scientist, and if you measure Bitcoin from a risk-adjusted return perspective, Bitcoin has traditionally, as a matter of fact, since its inception over any material amount of time, always returns significantly more risk than, significantly more reward than risk. So, from a risk-adjusted reward perspective, it outperforms every other major currency and minor currencies, gold, silver, the S&P 500, the LSE, crude oil, WTI, Brent, Sweet, etc. I think that's a decent perspective, and realize that with the introduction of institutions in Bitcoin, you're going to have a significantly higher demand. Okay, this higher demand is going to bring more liquidity, more transparency. It's all upside. Now, this Friday, the SEC is supposed to determine whether they will approve the first ETF, publicly traded ETF, Bitcoin ETF. This is being brought by the Winklevoss twins, the two brothers who were twins who initially were the initial founders of Facebook, at least according to the story, the myth, and the movie, and the lawsuit. If they succeed, expect a significant pop in Bitcoin price as of this Friday. Right? If the SEC declines it, turns them down, I expect Bitcoin to drop significantly incorrect. If it drops significantly incorrect, and this is a freebie, you don't have to join my blog for this, but I'm not going to give too many more of these out. If it does correct Friday, I think it's a buying opportunity because people are overreacting, and they are overreacting based upon basically a lack of knowledge. Be very, very careful where you get your information. Always go to primary sources. Always pull out a pen and paper. Run the math yourself. It's not complicated. Or, of course, you join Boomba's blog. So I want everybody coming. I see there are 14 online viewers. Everybody who's online now, share this right now with everybody else. Okay? Instead of 14, we should have 100 or so. Okay? Get everybody going. It works exponentially when you share. When you share, other people share. Have them come on board. In the meantime, this is interactive. I want everybody, such as Rudy Letter, James Gonzalez, ask me questions. Okay? This is interactive. This is why I'm doing it versus recording a YouTube video and just putting it out. In the meantime, why is the fact that if the SEC were to deny the ETF, why would it be a buying opportunity? I'll just keep sharing your video, let them know. Thank you, appreciate it. Is there counterparty risk with the ETF? Of course there is. Listen, there's counterparty risk with everything, right? If you have a party that you're standing counter to, you will have counterparty risk. I didn't read through all the S1 for the ETF, but they should have it insured. They probably have multi-sig security, so you need several sign-offs in order to have the Bitcoin removed, etc. Now, with all due respect to these the Bitcoin ETF guys, if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, you invest in Bitcoin directly. You keep possession of it. Okay, possession, control, and custody should be yours at all times. The reason why the Bitcoin ETF is a big deal is because the big Wall Street institutions cannot, as they're currently structured, invest directly in Bitcoin, so they need to go through SEC-approved vehicle. So this is basically financial engineering. You create an SEC-approved vehicle like a publicly traded ETF, and now they can invest in Bitcoin. But they're not investing in Bitcoin. They're investing in basically a derivative. Great content on Bitcoin. Next to address A. Always like to hear what you say. Thank you very much, my friend. Rashid Moore and one other. Welcome. Okay. Let them know you appreciate it. That's right. Let me know you appreciate it. Share, share, share. I need 100 people simultaneously to keep this going. Okay. So, I'm shifting less from buying at Coinbase to peer-to-peer. That's a very good idea. Keep the peer-to-peer quality of Bitcoin, because Coinbase is a centralized wallet. Coinbase is basically just like a bank or a brokerage exchange. So you give up custody, you give up control, and you give up ownership of the Bitcoin when you put it in Coinbase. Okay. Now, why is it a buying opportunity if the ETF is declined by the SEC Friday? Because, you know, that one SEC application is not the end-all or be-all of institutional acceptance of Bitcoin. I started this video off saying that I've gotten a lot of institutional interest in Bitcoin. Hedge funds are coming up and asking me, etc. They actually want more of my Bitcoin advice than they want from my fundamental advice, and I actually thought I was the best thing since sliced bread, after calling the real estate crash, banking debacle, etc., European debt crisis, tech, Google, Apple. But now I see that Bitcoin is hot. It took a few years, actually 4 years, for it to catch on. Okay, but I'm going to write a very, very in-depth, very, very exclusive Bitcoin analysis, investment analysis report. Should be out hopefully by next week. Okay, and I will make portions of that free, to put out free. The rest of it will be behind the paywall, and I invite everybody to join Boom Bust Blog. Even if you find it to be a little expensive, I issue discounts for basically spreading the love as well. Okay. Ideas of when it would happen or what would happen Friday. Let's suppose the SEC declines the ETF. Bitcoin will drop because it's thinly driven and there are a lot of momentum players in there. But be aware that you have, I believe, you have 2 other Bitcoin ETF applications. I know there's one other because I know the guy personally. And he's applying, he's doing things a bit differently to circumvent most of the problems that the SEC had with the Winklevoss Bitcoin ETF application. And then you have institutional interest from all over the world. Remember, this is not just a SEC in New York thing. I have no proof, but is it possible that Bitcoin is a government black project to encourage digital currency to catch people not winning legacy currency, whatever? I'm sorry, not to whatever, but it's hard to read it. Let me just address that. It doesn't really matter. Bitcoin is open source. Bitcoin is open source. So if you have any doubts as to its veracity, or if you have any doubts as to whether there are bugs in the code, you can easily go to GitHub, github.com, github.com, download it, go through the code yourself, as has thousands of others. Very experienced cryptographers, security analysts, developers, etc. Okay. So hopefully that answers that question. I'm getting phone calls, so that's where the pauses are coming from. Now, so if the SEC denies the Bitcoin ETF application Friday, you have a drop in price. I personally, I'm not giving you advice, I personally would advise my clients to buy that dip. You have the other 2 ETFs, or definitely one ETF coming up. You also have, in Europe, you have institutional interest in Bitcoin. This institutional interest in Bitcoin is being exemplified by the fact that one of the largest European Bitcoin exchanges, which is still very small in the scheme of things, Bitstamp, has teamed up with one of the largest banks in France, which is also one of the largest banks in Europe and in the world, Crédit Agricole. And they're creating a vehicle to allow institutions to invest directly into Bitcoin, okay, through a regulatory approved route. That means they are opening the spigots, right, for institutional dollars to come in. And basically they're creating the gateway. This is happening independent of the SEC. So whether the SEC approves it or not, this is still happening in Europe. This is a big deal. It's gotten very, very little press because you see the press is, in my opinion, they don't give meritorious weighting to the different stories coming in. A lot of the crime in Bitcoin, which is marginal compared to fiat crime, is overrepresented, and things like I just discussed are underrepresented. Veritasium was massively underrepresented. It's the best thing since sliced bread, in my opinion. So, Gerard Kasunik, hope it is a sign that Bitcoin will be a major global digital currency, soon accepted by most governments. The comment on that, Bitcoin is a digital currency, but it's a digital currency application written on top of a much larger platform, which is the Bitcoin platform. Think of email as an application written on top of the internet. So what you want is acceptance of the Bitcoin blockchain and platform. That way, that currency, acceptance of that currency will have to happen by default, because the currency also contains the token that makes this platform run. So to get on, the only way onto this platform is to buy that token, which is considered the currency. The more demand for the token, the higher the token price goes. Okay, Edward Rosio, how long must newbie holders commenting on your videos hold for? What time frame do you recommend? Well, it's very risky, so I would think minimum 2 years on the 5 years. Okay.